The Rockets making a lot of noise this offseason, and the expectations, of course, following. Kim Davis from Chalk Talk back in studio with us, and our Luis Ortiz joining us virtually from Locked On Rockets and Locked On NBA, Jackson Gatlin. Summer League started last week, so let's talk about Houston's summer blockbusters or busts. First, Reed Sheppard summer development. Will it be a blockbuster or bust? Jackson, why don't you lead us off?
Man, well, I think through two games, you've got one game where things looked kind of blockbustery and one games where things maybe looked a little bit more in the bust territory for Reed, unfortunately. A bit of a mixed bag through these first two Summer League games for him. Rough starts in both of them. Started to kind of find his way throughout in each of these games. Although, man, against the Pistons, you could really tell that the length, the physicality was kind of getting to him. He was getting a little frustrated with the officiating there in game two a little bit, kind of working the refs, trying to let them know he was mic'd up, which was always fun to hear the players on the court see what they're talking about and everything. He made sure to let the refs know that he was getting fouled and that he needed to be allowed to be able to make moves, take his shots without receiving contact. I think that when you look at the expectations that the Rockets have for Reed Sheppard and the role that he projects to have this upcoming season, you would have liked to see him be a little bit more efficient through these first couple games. You would have liked to see him be the best player on the floor in both of these games, bar none. He certainly wasn't that against the Pistons, but it's also really hard when you look at a Summer League squad that doesn't have a ton of talent outside of Reed Sheppard, so it's really easy for these teams to kind of look at him, game plan, and try to shut him down. I'm not worried about him long term, so for the purpose of this exercise, I'll say blockbuster, just because I'm still bought in on what Reed's future means for this organization.
What about you, Kim?
So a lot of what Jackson said, I can't say blockbuster yet. I'm still on the waiting to see, right? Yeah. And I think just because the sample size is not big enough, right? Yeah. We talked about that. He didn't have a big sample size in college. When he played last year, there weren't really minutes that were really significant in terms of when he played. He needed to show up, I think, a little more. Yeah, but it's been two games, so they have three more games. We'll see what happens. But I think the physicality or the lack of it is a concern because that's the style of basketball that this team plays. Yeah, he's going to have to be able to endure that. Yeah, and Rafael Stone saying earlier this week, they need Reed Sheppard to be big for this team. Luis, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, here's what I think. If I was a Rotten Tomatoes critic, I would say it's not a blockbuster or a bust, but maybe I'd give him a 70, 65 score around there. Here's something. Look, I think he showed against the Pistons. He scored 18 points, 6 for 19 shots, right? He did show mid-range shot, the three-point shot, and he even attacked the rim. It's something that beating guys off the dribble, which is okay, something good to see, right? Like you said, the sample size is not enough yet. Also, when Jackson talks about him being bar none the best player on the court right now in these Summer League games, yeah, maybe right now in Summer League games, but when it comes to regular season NBA games, he doesn't have to be that. For the Rockets, I think he needs to be a spot shooter. He's going to be a guy, you have KD, that's going to be your number one option. You got Alperen Sengun, that's your number two option. What option is going to be Reed Sheppard, right? I think he needs to be a guy that when there's a double team or whatever situation that he gets open, he needs to knock down the shot, whether it's on the corner, somewhere on the perimeter, or off a screen, mid-range jump shot a la Rip Hamilton back in the days. So for me, I think he's fine. I think he's on route to where he needs to be.
He's got to also protect the ball. He's got to eliminate the turnovers, and he's going to have to be more physical because he's playing with a team, and that's how this team plays. And if he's the person on the court that can't handle the physicality, that is going to be a problem. But I think we just don't know yet. I'm still in the middle. We'll see.
All right, I think it's really important to note that also when you look at the fact that Summer League is kind of built for guys who are guys who tend to thrive in Summer League are guys that can, ISO, score, get their own shot at will. And unfortunately, that might never be totally in Reed's wheelhouse. I would argue that you could look, Fred VanVleet is a former NBA All-Star. He's an NBA champion. But if you dropped Fred VanVleet in Summer League and he was the only offensive option on a Summer League roster similar to Reed Sheppard, he might struggle a little bit too, right? Undersized guard, reliant on screens and teammates to help kind of create an offensive advantage for him at times. That's kind of what Fred VanVleet is as a basketball player. He needs a good screen to be able to get downhill and try and, attack the defense that way. Reed is going to be that same way. And he's going to have screeners like Alperen Sengun and Steven Adams and Clint Capella to help him next season to free things up, as well as playing alongside those weapons that we talked about, right? Guys like Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün. And when you actually see him in the construct of the Rockets team, as opposed to a summer league team where the Pistons, Clippers only have to worry about taking one player out of the game, it's going to look a lot different and likely a lot better.
Okay, we can't end on that. He is not Fred VanVleet. Okay, let's be clear. I get what you're saying, but we don't want to let that be the final note. But yeah, great points.
All right, well, all eyes certainly will be on Reed Sheppard during the Summer League, and all eyes going to be on this guy, Kevin Durant. The news becoming official earlier this week. Now that it's sunk in for everyone a little bit, is KD in H-Town going to be a blockbuster or bust? Jackson, go.
Absolute blockbuster. Yeah. This was the right move for the organization. They got KD on the cheap. And at the end of the day, he answers a couple of the biggest issues that this team had last season. Yes, they had a ton of success. 52 wins, second best record in the Western Conference, one of the best teams all season long. But one of the biggest issues with that team was the fact that on any given night, they really didn't know who their best player was going to be. Kevin Durant brings this team a hierarchy. It is now Kevin Durant is your best player. On any given night, it could be Alperen Şengün or Amin Thompson as your second best player. I fully expect that the responsibilities for those two guys, the role within that hierarchy, will become more concrete this upcoming season. And again, that's going to be a tall order for Ime Udoka, basically kind of reshuffling these guys and their expectations of how many shots they can expect to get, where they fall within the offensive hierarchy of the team. But you introduced Kevin Durant to a 52-win Rockets team that was a top 4 NBA defense. He's going to take this team to the next level. I fully believe that with KD added and the depth additions of Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capella, this Rockets team could be looking at 60-plus wins this next year, and they are on paper one of the challengers to dethrone the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Kim?
I mean, I agree. The other thing I think that Kevin Durant does is one of the problems the Rockets had was spacing.
Yeah.
That was a huge issue. And so now with Kevin Durant and with Finney, I mean, I think you kind of solved that problem. So he is going to be a finisher. He is a guy that can score. He clearly is going to be the superstar on this team, and I think it's blockbuster.
Yeah, for sure. Rotten Tomatoes score of 100. It's a blockbuster for sure. Look, when you go back and look at the tape from the first round of the playoffs against the Golden State Warriors, Jalen Green, right? That offense didn't show up 6 of the 7 games. So we're talking about a KD that can show up every single, even if he has an off night, what are you thinking? He's scoring at least 12, 15 points, right? This is Kevin Durant, a guy that can score in many ways. You said spacing. He creates space for everybody else. I think this also allows for other guys to thrive. Jabari Smith Jr. now can learn from him and also have more space to not have so much pressure on other guys to come up with buckets, because you can give the ball to Kevin Durant and go get you a bucket at any given moment. Amin Thompson. So now for me, I keep saying, look, when other opponents prepare, they scheme for the Rockets, and they're going to want to take the ball away from Kevin Durant. That's the number one guy. You don't want the ball in his hands, right? So other guys are going to have to step up, and that's why Amin Thompson exit interview or after the game when they lost against the Warriors, I asked him about, hey, what about the mid-range game? And he talked about having his athleticism that he has, that he can get somewhere within that elbow range, close to the free throw line, or whatever, any mid-range area on the court, he can elevate and jump and shoot over it. Probably practically most guys that are defending him that are his size or maybe smaller. And, guys are just going to have to be able to make shots. To me, Kevin Durant's going to get you buckets, but when guys are open, they got to knock him down because he can't do it by himself.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very exciting team to watch with Kevin Durant. And earlier this week, GM Rafael Stone saying he expects this team to look very similar to what it looked like last week, but Houston waiving Nate Williams. So who can the Rockets get to finish this summer off as a blockbuster or bust? Kim, we'll let you start.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still. Listen, I think they're close in terms of who they're going to be. Of course, they signed Cam Matthews, the undrafted rookie out of Mississippi State. No risk there, right? To a two-way contract. I think someone's going to have to make it from what they already have, right?
Okay.
Nate Williams wasn't going to be that guy. Yeah. I was hoping he'd make it. I thought he had a lot of upside, but that's why they paid him the big bucks to figure it out. And Rafael Stone has also said he feels good about the roster.
Yep.
So I don't know that there's anything else they're going to do. I think the KD move and the Finney, those were the blockbuster moves for this team.
Yeah. Jackson, what do you think?
I think that you look at this team, the easy answer would be to say, just take a look at one of the young potential prospects that are somewhere on the roster, maybe a guy like Kevon Harris that they signed to one of their two-way slots. You bump him up to a standard deal. Maybe Cam Matthews that they really like. He's very clearly kind of fitting the Rockets mold there a little bit, right? Got into a bit of a dust-up there in Game 1. And kind of speaking about it with Rockets courtside reporter Vanessa Richardson after the game against the Pistons, where apparently Ime and company, they were excited to see that, right? They like guys who can, get after a little bit, aren't afraid to back down from a fight, that kind of thing. So he certainly fits the Rockets culture. But a name that I'm certainly looking at, because they can add, now that they've waived Nate Williams, they have that 14th roster spot open. You need to bring in a 14th guy. You don't have to fill that 15th slot, but you do have to bring in that 14th guy to flesh out the roster before the start of the season. I really look at a guy like Malcolm Brogdon. He's a guy that Ime Udoka went after when he was with the Celtics for his one-year stint there. They made the trade for Brogdon, bringing him in. He's a good kind of veteran combo guard that they could bring in on the off chance, right? If Reed Sheppard isn't able to fulfill the expectations of the role that they have for him, backing up Fred VanVleet, 10, 15 minutes a night, whatever that looks like, then Malcolm Brogdon's a name that they could potentially pivot to, have for some spot minutes here and there. If there's ever any time where maybe Fred misses a game, or if a Min or Reed miss some time, having another reliable ball handler to be able to introduce to that mix. He's currently a free agent. He's played for Ime before, and I think he would be a great kind of 14th man to have on the roster, assuming he doesn't want a bigger role elsewhere, and you could very easily get him for the vet minimum deal.
For me, I think I have two ideas, and they're both high risk. Reward could be there, but I think you look at maybe the Chris Paul, who says he's probably playing his last season, and just to facilitate, a guy that can facilitate, be a distributor, a general on the floor, and doesn't even have to start at this point, right? Can come off the bench and back up Fred VanVleet. Or he's going to miss this entire next year, but Damian Lillard, a guy that can also maybe, at this point, look, the Bucks are paying out his contract. He doesn't need to go chase it back. He's already got it. The Rockets, maybe with a veteran exception, can bring him in. I'm not a salary cap guru or anything, that knows how to work all the money and contracts and stuff, but if they can get him for cheap, another guy that, look, I think he also deserves a shot to go and chase a title at this point, man. Damian Lillard has been one of the best players in the NBA for a long time. He was very loyal to Portland Trailblazers. Why not bring him in and see if he can pay off once he's recovered from that Achilles tear?
When you say Chris Paul, my ears perk up. I like Chris Paul a lot. The way things kind of ended here, I'm not sure, but he would be a great fit, because here's the other thing. The Rockets don't have great ball handlers when you get beyond Fred VanVleet.
Yep.
That is not a strength of Reed Sheppard. So we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it. We're going to have to get our popcorn ready. Kim Davis from Chalk Talk and Locked On's Jackson Gatlin. Thank you both for playing.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, guys.